Here's the 10 best tips and tricks for Apple's new AirPod Pros that you need to know. And as usual, I've saved the best and probably the weirdest / most controversial tip until last, so stay tuned for that. Oh, and make sure you've got the latest version of iOS installed, as most of these tips will need it to work. Okay, so let's waste no more time. Let's get started with tip number 1. Tip number 1 shows you how to stream music to 2 sets of AirPod Pros from one device using iOS 13's audio sharing. Whilst it is a lot more expensive, this is a much more practical solution than just sharing one AirPod each and one person's earwax each. So whilst you've got a track playing, just swipe down from the home screen to reveal the control center. Simply tap the audio card section, then look for the blue AirPlay button. Bring your friend's AirPod Pros close by, tap share audio and follow the instructions, and that's it. Whoever is sharing the audio will have control over the volume, and if you long press the volume slider in the control center, you'll be able to independently control the volume of both sets of AirPods, which is pretty cool, right? My second tip is all about battery life because, trust me, there's not a lot worse than picking up your AirPods to go and use them and they're just totally dead. So keeping an eye on your battery life levels is probably a good idea. Of course, when you open the lid each time, you can get a quick idea of how much battery life is left, but it's a good idea to enable the battery widget in your widgets section of your phone. You can get to that by swiping right from the home screen. If it's not there already, scroll all the way to the bottom of the widgets section and tap edit to add the batteries widget. Once it's there, it will show you the exact battery life of each AirPod and your case as well. So now you can check the battery life even when they're in your ears. You know, after an hour's listening, the battery life is probably going to have changed from when you last looked at it. Oh, and if you've got an Apple Watch as well, you can simply swipe up from the watch face, tap the battery icon, and that's another way to check your battery levels. Tip number 3 gives you a third way to enable ANC and Transparency mode. Obviously, the easiest way to do this and quickest is just by tapping and holding the force sensor on each AirPod, and the hardest way being going into settings, Bluetooth settings, tapping the little eye icon next to your AirPods, and then doing it that way. So don't bother with that one. But if you want another way to do it that's quite convenient, just head into the control center while your AirPods are on. You can tap and hold the volume slider to reveal an easy way to access both features without having to physically touch your AirPod Pros at all. Tip number 4 shows you how to access that somehow slightly hidden Eartip Fit Test. This test will tell you if you've achieved a good seal or not, which is really important for 2 reasons. Firstly, for noise cancellation, for it to work properly, and secondly, for having any hope in hell of hearing the bass on your AirPods. I'm personally pretty sure of when I've got a good seal with wireless earbuds, but if you're not, here's how to find the Eartip Fit Test, as it is pretty hidden. Head into the settings and then tap your Bluetooth settings, tap the eye icon on your AirPod Pros, and scroll down to get to the Eartip test. Get your AirPods in, press play, and you'll hear a little sample music shortly followed by a rating of how good your seal is or isn't. If it's all green and fine, you're good to go. If it's amber and you're not getting a good seal, you might need to switch up or down to the alternate ear tips in the box. It's a great little test that you must try whether you're totally new to in-ear earbuds or you've just tried a few in the past and you're not sure. My 5th tip is all about that little tiny status light on the front of your AirPod Pro's case. Okay, so maybe you're well aware that white means ready to connect, green means your AirPods are charged, and amber means they're now charging. But, a little bit of a quiz here, how about an amber light when the AirPods themselves aren't in the case? Well, that actually means there's less than a full charge remaining in the case. What about when there's a green light on the AirPod Pro's case when they're not in it as well? Well, that means there is a full charge left in the case. And what about no light at all? Well, they're just dead, they need to be charged. But when you're wirelessly charging your AirPod Pros, the status light will stay on for about 8 seconds before completely turning off, which is fine, completely normal, no need to panic, they are still charging. Tip number 6 shows you how to get Siri to read your messages out loud when your AirPod Pros are in, hopefully saving you getting your phone out of your pocket every 10 minutes. So simply head to notifications and settings and enable announce messages with Siri. Once Siri has read your message, you can also then reply if you like by saying something like reply, okay, I'm on my way. And then when you finish talking, Siri will then read your message back to you and ask you if you want to send it. So that's a pretty little nifty trick there. My 7th tip is all about how to customize the long press function on each force sensor. By default, both left and right toggle between ANC, transparency mode, and then having both off entirely. But you really don't need both of your AirPods to do the same thing when you think about it. For example, you can keep the right AirPod as it is, toggling between ANC, transparency mode, and being off, and then have your left one activate Siri. Or you can have the left one cycle between transparency mode and off, whilst the right one just cycles between ANC and off. It's entirely up to you. Just head to your Bluetooth settings, tap the eye icon, and scroll down until you see the left and right options. There you can change them however you wish, so have fun with that. Tip number 8 is all about how to find your AirPods if you lose one, because let's be real, AirPod Pros are tiny now, and if you're guilty of not always putting them straight back into their case, which you should get into the habit of doing that, trust me, then you should know this tip instead. It might save you a lot of money. So simply head to the Find My app, head to your devices and tap your AirPods, then tap the play button, which will make each AirPod emit a sound, hopefully allowing you to find them. It does get surprisingly loud, giving you a decent chance of being able to find them if they are in the house. So tip number 9 teaches you how to be a master at using the new force sensor touch control. So here's what's what. First of all, you've got the usual single press to play or pause playback, a double press to skip to the next track, and a triple press to skip to the previous track. That's pretty common knowledge. But if a call is coming in, you can just single tap to answer it and single tap to end the call, which is slightly different to the original AirPods, which required a double tap for both. Sadly, if you want to change your volume, you either have to rely on saying a hey, or by adjusting it on your phone or Apple Watch instead. Now, my final tip is actually pretty controversial, as I said, but I'm going to throw this in here anyway. Using the live listen feature combined with your AirPods Pro, you can actually hear what your iPhone is hearing, even when you're not in the room. I'm not saying that you should spy on people using this combination of things, but technically you could. So all you have to do is head to Settings, Control Center, Customize controls, and add the hearing option. So connect your AirPods, put them in your ears, and when you head over to the Control Center next, tap Live Listen. You're now listening to your iPhone's microphone through your AirPod Pros. What you do with that information from that point onwards is entirely your own fault. Now you've watched this video, you should definitely check out my review of the iPhone 11 Pro Max here. I talk about why I ditched Android to go back to iOS, or you can check out my 5 best budget ANC headphones video here. So pick one of those and I'll see you in the next video.